Fellow Drops fans, this is year 2 of featuring a coffee from Finca Tamana, Colombia, from Tim Wendelboe and us to you. Let's get into it. Hello, fellow Drops fans, fellow fans, and people of the internet. My name is Haley. I'm your local resident Q grader and brew guide who can't find the base of my kettle. Here to talk to you about an exciting international coffee for you today, an international drop. You may have heard of Tim Wendelboe himself. We are featuring a Tim Wendelboe coffee today from Finca Tamana. It's a Bourbon, washed Bourbon from Colombia. Before I get into why it's so cool and why I'm super excited to feature a coffee from this esteemed farm for a second year in a row, let's get into how I'm brewing it. So I am using 22.5 grams of coffee in to 350 grams of coffee out. So that's about a 1 to 15.5 ratio if my math is not off, and I'm not like that good at math, so no, that's correct. I'm brewing at 205 degrees Fahrenheit. I ground at a 3.2 with Ode Gen 2. I would recommend 3.2 or to 4, so like in that range, that one-click range, which is about a 4.2 to 5 with Ode plus SSP burrs. All other grind setting conversions for our grinders can be found on our brew guide blog post, so go check that out. And I am doing a 4-stage pour, so I bloomed at 50 grams for about 40 seconds, poured up to 150 grams first, then I poured up to 250 grams. Once this water level goes down about halfway after this third pour, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up the dripper, swirl gently 10 times to get everything soaking evenly. Not gonna add too much agitation to this brew. That's the only agitation that I'm adding. After that, I will go ahead and pour up to the final 350 grams. And that's it. So super mellow brew. It's gonna be a bit of a longer drawdown time. At 3.2 on our Ode Gen 2, I'm finding that my drawdown time is around 4 minutes and 30 seconds or just shy of it. So a little bit longer drawdown time. Nothing to be afraid of though. This coffee, again, a washed Bourbon, it can handle the longer drawdown time. So this is my last pour going up to 350 grams. Sweet, right on the money. It's like I've been doing this. It's like I do this sometimes. Before we get into how this coffee is tasting, I'd like to talk about taste in general. Taste is really, really important in dialing in coffee, right? In fact, it's the most important thing. It has come to my attention lately that a lot of importance has been placed on time and like using time as something to like as law, as opposed to something that is a metric that helps guide your dial. Taste is gonna win out over everything else, right? Especially for something like espresso. If a shot time on our brew guide blog post is suggested at 30 seconds, but you're pulling, to our specs at 30 seconds, depending on your atmosphere, depending on how far the coffee is off of roast, depending on, so many other factors, that shot could taste maybe a little bit under or over extracted to you. And that's totally fine. Don't have to keep to that dial just to keep to the dial, right? Like you absolutely can shoot for maybe less time or more time depending on what it's tasting like to you. So if you're tasting a little bit sour or maybe your espresso is weak or watery, maybe you want to go for a little bit more time. If the opposite's happening where your espresso is a little bit bitter or chalky or overly heavy, maybe you want to go for a little bit less time. My point with this is taste is always going to tell you what your dial should be like, right? And if you're not liking it, change up the time. Use time as a metric, use time as an informing, a guide, right? Like as a goalpost or a starting point, but a guide, not the end all be all of what you have to shoot for it to be a perfect shot. A perfect shot tastes good to you. A perfect cup of coffee tastes good to you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. All right, let's get into why this coffee is so cool. So, as I said before, it is our second year featuring a coffee from this farm. Tim Wendelboe has had a relationship with Finca Tamana, which is situated in between El Pital and La Plata, in Huila, Colombia. It's like a very mountainous area. Tim Wendelboe's had a relationship with his farm for, I think, about a decade or more. So working with them for a long time, just really, they've been crushing their practices to grow and just really produce super quality coffee. Yeah. And that's what we're here for, right? Taste-wise, I'm getting a lot of red fruit, a little bit of wininess, which is interesting for a washed Colombia, right? That like fruity quality, but still that smooth and round body is there as well, with a little bit of citrus acidity to me too. Also, there are tons of florals floating through. As always, it is easy to order from Fellow Drops, even a coffee from all the way across the world from us in the US here. All you have to do is text us back the number of coffee bags you want, 125. You're gonna want a lot of bags of this coffee, because also it's Tim Wendelboe. You're gonna want a lot. If you don't want any coffee this week though, don't text us back and we won't charge you or send you unnecessary coffee. We will just text you next week with another delicious curated selection. I have been and will continue to be your brew guide, Haley, local resident Q grader, and thank you so much for joining me today for this brew guide video. Taste the coffee, drink the coffee. I will see you next week for the next brew guide video. Thank you.